Here we go again.
No, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the bridge. Dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews and connections in mind. Avatar, The Way of Water is the long-awaited sequel to 2009's Avatar. It is, once again, directed by James Cameron and stars, once again, Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, and so many others. And this film, once again, focuses on the Na'vi, the inhabitants of the alien world Pandora. When the Sky People return, Jake Sully, Neytiri, and their family must commune with a neighboring tribe of Na'vi and learn the way of water in order to survive with the Sky People and find a way to fight back and reclaim their world. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Avatar: The Way of Water. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts. First and foremost, however, I'll get into my spoiler talk after I give my letter grade, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. But first and foremost, let's get into some spoiler-free talk on Avatar: The Way of Water. Is it any good? Is it a worthy sequel? Is it worth seeing in the theaters? Is it worth paying extra for that 3D? I would say yes, absolutely. This is definitely worth seeing, especially in 3D. I'm glad I went to see it in 3D. My only regret is I didn't go to see it in IMAX 3D because this is stellar 3D work. And if you saw the original Avatar in 2009 and thought the original world of Pandora in 3D was stellar, imagine what 13 years of technological advancement can do to that kind of process. And you got, some of the most beautiful 3D worlds that you can see anywhere. I mean, I've heard people compare this to, this is one of the most beautiful roller coaster movie ride experiences ever, and it really is. And that shouldn't be a bad thing, because yes, this is definitely a visual treat over any kind of substance. We'll get to that in a second. But with the original Avatar, James Cameron, he originally wanted to develop that, the technology of motion capture and seamlessly blending, CG creatures and CG backgrounds together and make it look photorealistic, and that was stunning then. Here, the big technological breakthrough is doing all that while underwater, and the underwater sequences are by far the best scenes in this entire movie. I swear, these are the shots alone when you get into the, you got the surface barely under the water where you get, coral reef kind of areas, and then you got, deeper water where you've got, a little less light, and you got things starting to, photoluminescence, even more photoluminescence when it's at nighttime and underwater. You've got, little fishes, you've got, plesiosaur things flying around, you've got, Pandora's version of whales going around. It's, like I said, it's such a wonderful visual treat to see all these things, and it's worth it just for that alone. But like I alluded to before, if you're looking for deep character-driven moments, you're gonna get some of that, but it's definitely not the deepest out there. And one of the big criticisms of the original Avatar is like, oh yeah, no one really talks about that anymore. The story was just Fern Gully, Dancing with Wolves, Pocahontas, and all that, and it's really just about the visuals. Well, yeah, that's kind of what it was. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm also going to deny that that technological breakthrough is translated to so many other things that came after that. I'm not entirely sure how much technological advancement is going to advance from this movie into the future. I mean, certainly maybe we'll get better underwater things going on here. But the story, once again, yes, the characters are a little bit bare bone. Really, this is focusing on Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington, and Neytiri, played by Zoe Saldana, and their family, where they're essentially, once the Sky People come down, they know that Jake Sully betrayed the human race, and he's, hitman, target number one down on Pandora, so he has to go into hiding. basically. So that's why he goes to the water tribes or whatever, and these characters, you've got the family dynamic going on here, and they explore that a little bit. There's also a family dynamic going on with a human character, because it was alluded to at the end of the first Avatar that some humans stayed, and we see some of the ramifications of that in this movie, and they kind of explore that. But there are large chunks of this movie where that whole stretch of story gets completely moved off to the side, and we focus on, oh yes, here's all this pretty Pandora stuff, which again, that's good, but if you're that's all very nice to look at. But if you're trying to follow this for the story, and there are some people who might be genuinely invested in that story, and they'll be like, well, hey, why aren't we focusing on these people for 30 minutes or 35, 40 minutes at a time here? And then when it finally comes back at the very end, it really doesn't resolve itself. I mean, there's probably a good reason for that, because once again, this is there were scripts written out that there were going to be Avatars 2, 3, 4, and 5. Who knows if we're going to get? I mean, James Cameron has publicly said that he'll stop after 3. That 3 is has a natural stopping point if these movies don't do well enough. And yes, this is that some of these stories definitely have the hallmark of, we'll expand it more on the third movie, and we're expecting that third movie. And there's something to be said for leaving them wanting more, but in these instances, it's like, you didn't leave me quite enough to reach that point where I really want more to go on. And but on the other hand, I appreciate that there are some things that they explain very briefly, because who cares why this thing happens? We're just throwing it into here. It's a dumb story. We know you're not here for dissecting the lore of Avatar. It's like, yeah, here's the situation. This is how it happened. Do you care? No. All right, let's go move on. And I appreciate that. I love when a movie knows when to pay attention to something, when to give it depth, and when it's okay to fudge the details a little bit. And that's I'm trying to give something away because I feel like that might be a spoiler. I don't know if it was revealed much in the trailers per se, but let's just say a character from the first movie returns in such a way that is you don't really need it leaves you going, okay, sure, and then you kind of move on with it. So let's do that. There's also some family dynamics in here that other family backstory that I would have really loved to explore more in this movie. I don't want to wait until Avatar 3 to come out. Who knows how many years after the fact here to continue exploring that. I mean, they're trying to create a mystery there. It's like, okay, maybe they're trying too hard to force a mystery on that, but I'd be very interested to see where what the answer is. And this is not the kind of mystery where you go back to Star Wars Force Awakens, where it's like the big mysteries, who is Snoke, who is Rey's father, when you get really invested in those mysteries, and then when the answers finally do come, you're really let down. This is a mystery where it's like, I'm not entirely invested in the mystery itself, or or what the answer is going to be. And when they reveal the answer, it's like, oh, all right, interesting. Don't really know what that adds to anything, but hey, maybe good for you. So that's the kind of stuff that's in the story. Like I said, the story work is there and it's fine, but it is very shallow and it is very cookie cutter, I will say. And like I said, in the original Avatar, the story was not necessarily the main focus of the story. It was mainly about the visuals. And here, very much a lot of the same things. The story is good, and I think James Cameron did improve on the story here is definitely better than the story in the first Avatar. However, you are still here just for the mainly for the visuals, I will say. And the visuals, like I said, are the main reason to see this movie, and definitely go see it in 3D or IMAX 3D if it's available near you. Definitely go check that out. So if I was going to give Avatar: The Way of Water a letter grade, I would say this is a solid A-. Like I said, the story, the visuals do a lot of the heavy lifting, but the the shallowness and the open-endedness of the story do tend to drag it down a peg. That's why I give it that A- grade. But yeah, this is definitely one I'll be adding to my collection when it comes out on physical media. So those are my main thoughts on Avatar: The Way of Water, spoiler-free. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, family dynamic that, this kind of, Motley Crue family dynamic where the family's kind of fighting against a big foe. We've seen that a lot of different things. I'm trying, keeping with, the Disney aesthetic, I went with, The Incredibles, where there is kind of an Incredibles family dynamic, and there's also, more specifically, an Incredibles 2 family dynamic, where the children take a bigger backseat and the bigger forefront, and the parents are either saving the children, or the children end up having to save the parents, or the children think that they're the only ones who can protect their parents. That kind of family dynamic, and you've seen this in a lot of other movies, but Incredibles 2 is kind of where my mind went to. And speaking of, the Disney dynamic, I had to go back and look this up. This character's name, played by Sigourney Weaver, and she's like immaculately conceived by Awa into Sigourney Weaver's old avatar who died, I'm assuming. There's that whole thing going on. You could go, Anakin Star Wars prequels going on there, but I could have sworn, her character's name is Kiri, Kiri, but the way everyone says it, it sounded like Kitty, and with a D. And, you got the character's named Sully, and you have a character, and, where I'm just hearing Kitty, it's like, is that an accidental or, accidental Monsters, Inc. reference? But no, the character's name is Kiri, so I had to leave that off there, but I thought it might be fun little tidbit on that front. You've got also, like I said, I alluded to this in my spoiler-free part of it, but, you've got Colonel Quaritch, played by Stephen Lang, returning in Avatar form, which, again, that's the part where it's like, hey, you've got, hey, we sent your memories up to that point back to Earth so that they could grow an Avatar body with your memories into it. It's like, okay, so they technically had this ability since the first movie, but when they had the first movie, have Jake Sully as a Marine in an Avatar body was a novel concept, so they had this ability the whole time. Why didn't they do this before? Again, that's one of those things where it's like, if you think about it too hard, the whole thing falls apart, so that's why I appreciate it when you go like, okay, cool, moving on. But, that whole dynamic, it made me think of, Agent Smith from Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, where you got the villain you thought was dead coming back in a different form and to face the villain, and, they're like, Ariel, how many times do I have to kill you, kind of thing going on, especially with, Quaritch and Neytiri. So that was a fun little element to that. You got Jake's second son, I guess, the younger son, befriending the supposedly killer whale there, and that may be but the parents don't understand him, but the child does, and then the killer whale ends up being the savior of the at the end. It made me think of Bumblebee, actually, especially because the kid is also Haley Steinfeld's character in Bumblebee is also a bit of a social outcast on that, and the outcast bonding on that level between her character and Bumblebee, and then you got Jake's son in this movie with the whale. There's that connection to be made, and also more just generic director nods here in this movie. When the ship, the first skyship lands to make the beachhead, it's, booster rockets are so intense that, once it's reaching near the surface, it's got the wave of flames going on here. I could say Independence Day, but also, I think more James Cameron nodding, I feel like it's more like, the atomic blast through LA in T2 Judgment Day. I feel like that was a purposeful tip of the cap on that front. And also, because there's all the water stuff in this, movie. You've got, you know, James Cameron giving, you know, slight winks and homages to his previous work, specifically, you know, The Abyss and Titanic, especially near the end with the ship, that watercraft that can, you know, has the big fans that can fly across the water, whatever, once it's sinking. You got people, you know, climbing up the top as it's going vertical, and then you got people trapped in a flooding interior. Yeah, you've got those nods in there to previous James Cameron's works, and you know, it's his movies, his movie here and his movies then. It's his prerogative, and I do not begrudge him at all for that. So, those are my main points of comparison with Avatar: The Way of Water. What came before? What did you think of this movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get, and if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Be sure to look for my next video, which since 2022 is coming to a close as a tradition on New Year's Eve, my best and worst of 2022, both movies and TV. Be sure to look for that. Again, thank you so much for watching, and just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.